What's good, Slayers? So, the next video of this playlist for Radical Red Hardcore Nuzlocking Pokemon tier list is going to be the Bug type. Now, the Bug type historically sucks, and we're going to find out why. So, I think in the past I've been doing megas just I've just been ranking the megas as if it were that Pokemon. But in from this point forwards, I'm going to rank them separately if they have different typings. So to start, we have Butterfree, unusable. There's nothing really to talk about. Even with a good ability, this thing is not usable past like I don't know, Viridian Forest. Uh, Mega Butterfree has a lot more stats. It has more than 100 base stat total. So it goes from like 380 something for Butterfree to like maybe close to 500, 500-ish. That's still not great. I think it's a bug psychic type though. So it doesn't have like being weak to knockoff sucks, but I think bug psychic is a better typing than bug flying for Radical Red. So if you get a good ability on this thing, you could find use. Like if Orbeetle can be used, then Mega Butterfree can be used. Beedrill. Nah, we're not going to rank Beedrill. It has the same typing as Mega Beedrill. Mega Beedrill, however, is very usable. It's super fast. It has no wasted stats. Its special attack is like 20 or 15 even. So it's fast and it's strong. So you can just like U-turn out, poison jab, whatever, depending on what you want to lead for. This thing is not switching into very many attacks though. It could maybe switch into like fighting moves, but that's probably it. Fighting and grass moves. But either way, most of the time this thing is a lead and it just U-turns out. um like this thing is really fantastic in there's like a difficult semi-difficult double battle in the Pokemansion in Cinnabar Island at the bottom floor, and Beedrill does pretty well in that battle regardless of what its ability is. Parasect, surprisingly bulky grass bug types are more usable than you would think because you can switch them into ground moves. And when it's a physically or a semi-physically, Parasect is like not a great Pokemon, but its physical bulk makes it so that it can take like any physical ground move, any special ground move even. And there's a couple matchups where it can switch into an Earthquake and then win that fight. So it's gonna go unusable. Its ability is like its ability just makes it better. It just makes it more usable outside of the sole use of swapping into an Earth type to beat like a ground type Pokemon or something. Venomoth is unusable. I'm pretty sure it is not a bug psychic type in Radical Red. I think it might still be a bug poison type, but I've never caught one and actually used one on my team, so I'm not sure. I'm just assuming because of its base stat total, it's a bug poison type, which isn't great unless you're like super fast like Mega Beedrill. There's really no use for it. Scyther, unfortunately, is unusable. Like you would think, oh, but it's a Scyther. It's got high base stat, or it's got reasonably high base stats. Isn't it? Shouldn't it be an ability dependent? Maybe, but it's not fast enough. Its speed is like 105, I think, or 110. That's not fast enough to win important to win enough matchups to be like usable or even ability dependent. Um, yeah, And bug flying types are just like you have to be stupid fast to get used, like Ninjask or Mega Beedrill, or you just you can't get swapped in. And as a lead, it's like there's like rarely any fights that it's gonna be doing well as a lead. Like I don't even think this thing be like I I don't think it gets used in that same double battle that I was talking about on Cinnabore Island. I mean, for sure, it just gets so outscaled that you can't. This thing has no utility past like I don't even like maybe Erica. Like, maybe Erica you could use it. Although I don't even think there's a mon on Erica's because yeah, it can't take a dual chop from a Mega Sceptile, so there's not a single Pokemon that Scyther can get used for it in Erica. Scissor, however, is usable. For sure usable. It's a great typing. Bug Steel has no weaknesses except for fire, which it's never going to see. You're never going to let this thing see fire anything. And it has not that many resistances, surprisingly, because, yeah, like the bug just takes all of its weaknesses away from the steel type. And then like what is this resisting? Steel, fairy, which are fairy is a great type to resist. Um and then ice, I guess, and grass. Like this thing has a ton of utility. You can use it any which way. Scissor, I'm not Mega Scissor, I'm not gonna rate. It's basically the same Pokemon just with more stats. So like depending on which ability you like more, you're gonna use that form, that version, that Mega. Cleavor is I want to put it in highly usable, but in hardcore, it's actually more difficult than you would think to just freely swap this thing in and get off of stealth rocks, like at all, really. It's got great stats. It's got good defense. You have to kind of put a wide lens on it unless you're just trying to gamble for whatever fight. Because when this thing misses a stone axe, that that is very detrimental. That is usually like run over. Like 70% of the time, that means your run's over. Probably 60, maybe, depending on how you play around it. But yeah, this thing has to have a wide lens so it doesn't get an item. Um, Outside of that, it's pretty good. It's not fast enough to like outspeed Stone Axe, whatever you're trying to usually do, which can be an issue. But just like, for example, Charty Berry this, again, you're chancing a 90% attack, but you can beat Misty's Cleavor with a Cleavor as long as you land the 90%. Otherwise, that's it, you're done. So we'll put it, because of that reason, we'll put it in usable. It still has a lot of good uses. It's just, it's very rare. There's not a lot of battles in hardcore Radical Red where you can have this thing as a lead first and then just click Stone Axe for free. Um, it's quite uncommon. Like it's usually like you're gonna pick this thing for a matchup and then just have set up rocks as a bonus. And there's not a lot of matchups that support it. But if you really like this Pokemon and you really are the type of player to play around Stealth Rocks and getting that up, then for sure you'll find ways to use this in your on your team, and it'll have a lot of value. Pinsir is unusable, even more so than Scissor or Scyther. Sorry. It's a pure bug type, which is terrible, and it doesn't even really learn bug moves early, like any good bug moves early, until it learns like X's are way late. But it's like a bug type, pure bug type Pokemon that's like trying to use fighting type moves, which there's not a lot of uses for. Mega Pinsir is also garbage. Yeah, he's bad. I guess. Yeah, not even having an item. Just I'd rather use a pincer than a mega pincer for almost everything. I guess we'll put it in ability dependent. Just because of its stats are so high. So it's faster than Scyther. It's bulkier than Scyther. It can get used. And then if it has a decent ability, like if this thing has like flash fire, let's say, or something, then it can get used for certain matchups. Ladian is a bug fighting, which is a great typing for a lot of battles. Unfortunately, it has not the stats that are required to fill that role. So this thing cannot take on a crocodile, that's for sure, in Koga. And this thing cannot take on the crocodile in Morty. And yeah, it's not good. Ariados, same as Venomoth, terrible typing. Not good enough. Yeah. Yon Mega is fast enough. It's a bug flying type. Yeah, it's a special bug flying type, unfortunately. It's reasonably fast, but its physical attack is not very good. And usually with fast bug types, their primary role is to click U-turn. And this thing does not really fill that role. It's trying to click Bug Buzz and it's trying to click Air Slash. And its role is not, there's not enough roles for it to be usable. Yeah, in my opinion. Fortress, however, is usable. Bug Steel type. It's not like Scissor where it's like physically bulky and then kinda specially bulky. This thing is just physically bulky. It has no special bulk. But in the early game, it performs really well because it learns like early lunge, or not lunge, it learns pounce, which lowers speed. So this thing also an answer in Misty for dealing with the Cleavor, or not Misty, sorry, Bugsy's Cleavor. It does really well there, and it has rapid spin too. So, and it gets like Volt Switch. Weirdly enough, it doesn't get U-turn, but it does give Volt Switch, which can be kind of nice. It does not get access to spikes or any of the stuff that make it good in single battles. So unfortunately, it doesn't have that utility, but just as like a physically bulky, sit in front of certain matchups and click like pounce and eventually possibly lunge. I think it gets lunge. Then it does a pretty good job at that role. Shuckle, we'll just put it in ability dependent. Shuckle is an absolutely awful Pokemon in hardcore because it doesn't get any of its moves. But with a decent ability, this thing can be an excellent pivot into almost anything. Like special attackers, physical attackers, doesn't matter. You just use this as like one pivot. You might even get two pivots out of this to tank 2 attacks or something. And then depending on what its ability is, it could serve that role even better. This thing is never doing damage though. And it gets great moves to do damage, but it just doesn't get damage. I think it actually, you know what? I think it does get power swap in hardcore. Yeah, it does get power swap. So like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you could like cheese a couple battles by trying to use power swap on this thing, but that's super risky and I've never tried that. Heracross and Mega Heracross are the exact same typing. So Heracross is like not great because he's a bug fighting type, which is a great typing for certain like dark type, earth type matchups, ground type matchups. But he's not physically bulky. He's got more special bulk in his base stats. However, Mega Heracross does not have that problem. Mega Heracross, even though he doesn't get an item, he can be used for almost any, like swap it into a ground attack, swap it into a dark attack, physical, and he can eat it and then he can win that win that fight. So he's very usable for sure. Heracross, however, is not super usable. Yeah, Heracross is not super usable. We'll do these ones as well separately, just because their stats are like slightly their stats let them serve different roles. And Heracross doesn't serve any role very well, whereas Mega Heracross has enough physical bulk to serve that role into like dark and ground type matchups. Beautifly is unusable. It's not even. It's not. It's like yeah. It's I guess it's more or no. It's less usable than Butterfree because at least Butterfree gets Sleep Powder if that opportunity ever presents itself. Dustox as well. It's unusable. Yeah, the typing is not good enough. It does no damage, and it does get toxic, however. But toxic and hardcore is not as good as you would like it to be because you still have to outlast the Pokemon, and this thing's not outlasting anything. Even with Moonlight, this thing's not outlast. Like if you get a toxic off, this thing doesn't learn Protect. Oh, Protect is banned, but it doesn't learn like any like Detect or Silk Trap or whatever. So Toxic is pretty much useless on that thing. Masquerain, Bug Water type. Pretty cool typing. Definitely has some use cases. But unfortunately it is very ability dependent to get used in those sorts of matchups. Its stats are okay. It's not fast. But its special attack is decent enough. Like this thing can do pretty well in versus Misty's lead. Like Misty's lead Politoed. This thing wins. Not that Politoed is ever a problem for any team, like putting together a team for Misty. Misty won. But I mean, it has uses. It does really well into like water types that don't also resist bug. Because it resists like water, ice, and it's neutral to grass, which is usually like the the sort of coverage that water type Pokemon have in Radical Red, outside of the few that have electric coverage, in which case that thing's useless. Ninjask is sort of ability dependent, but this thing is wicked fast. But if you get certain abilities on it, it can actually be used. It's super fragile too, but at like 160 speed is disturbing. Like this thing's always getting a U-turn off. You just gotta watch out for like Accelerock, but you're not bringing that thing to a rock type. Shedinja is bottom of unusable. It is actually the most unusable Pokemon in the entire game. Simply because its ability is banned and it has 1 HP. So it's garbage. Volbeat, yeah, I don't actually know. I've never used this. I don't even know what typing they are in Radical Red. I'm going to assume that this is a bug electric type and this is a bug fairy type. But their stats are garbage. They can't get used for anything. Arnoldo is a good type. Bug rock, physically bulky bug rock, kind of like Cleavor. Certainly can get used for a lot of stuff. But it's not nearly fast enough. But if you have like an ability on this thing that makes it usable, it for sure can get used. Absolutely. 100%. Its stats are good enough. It's strong. It can tank like at least one, like two, or it can tank one like stab neutral attack, and then it can tank probably two non-stab neutral physical attacks from almost anything. Which is enough for it to usually win a matchup. Like if you can tank two non-stab moves from a Pokemon, you're probably going to win that matchup, unless it's like, I don't know, something ridiculous. Kricketune is unusable, unfortunately. Cool Pokemon, but yeah, it's unusable. All of these are unusable. They're too slow. All the Wormadons or Wormadons. Even the Steel one, like Bug Steel, it's cool and all, but like it just doesn't have the base stats to compete with like Fortress, Scissor, the other ones that we're gonna get to. It just can't get used. Mothim, same as Butterfree, garbage. Actually, it's again below Butterfree because it doesn't have sleep powder, I'm pretty sure. Vespiquen, however, is just straight up usable. Like a bulky bug psychic. It's a bug psychic type in this game. And it also gets access to a really good healing move and just really good bug moves. It's not very offensive. Like its stats aren't great for offensive, but it's physically bulky enough to like be useful and still win because it has healing in like a matchup. So yeah, that thing is fantastic. I mean, Arceus bug doesn't exist, but I guess if it did exist, it would be in probably just usable. Like I know bug types are not great. However, bug 720 base stat total bug types are still good. They are still very highly usable. Um, Leavanny. So after all that praise I gave to Parasect about being a bug grass type and you can swap into like a ground move and win that matchup, Leavanny doesn't have the physical stats to like if you slap a Charty Berry on Leavanny, let's say, and expect it to win against a ground type Pokemon, Charty Berry is the rock. It's the rock type berry, so it it turns a super effective rock type move into a neutral rock type move. It's not going to win that matchup, I'm pretty sure. It's still going to go down. Whereas Parasect will win that matchup because he will tank the rock move. I think after a powerful earthquake into this thing, it's still going to take like 15 to 20% of its health and then a neutral rock type move. I don't really see it surviving that. Yeah. We'll put this thing at top of unusable, but I don't think I don't think it's usable. Or no, we'll put it at bottom of ability depending. Because if you get like flash fire on this thing, or like I don't know something like the rock climber, or the whatever rock scaler ability, or you're just immune to rock type moves, then yeah, obviously it could be used. Scolipede, unfortunately, is not usable simply because it doesn't have speed boost in hardcore, and well, even with its base ability, like if you were playing with non-randomized abilities, it still wouldn't get speed boost, and it doesn't get Swords Dance, which is like this whole thing's like gimmick. It's like the reason this Pokemon is a Pokemon because it just speed boosts, Swords Dance, protects, and then uses a move eventually. So it can't do that. It's garbage. Crustle, we're gonna slot it right next to Armaldo. Above Armaldo though, because he's physically more bulky than Armaldo is. He doesn't hit as hard, but in hardcore Radical Red, bulk is always like usually the answer over damage, especially if you're playing without. This is all assuming you're not playing with a calculator. If you're playing with a calculator, you can make literally anything work because it's basically you're using a calculator. Escavalier is fantastic. He's gonna go right up next to Scissor. Escavalier doesn't have as many uses as like the other good bug steel types, just because he's so severely slow. But he does have a few, and more importantly, he has a very good matchup that does not require him to have a good ability, and that's Sabrina. This thing does absolutely fantastic into the back end of Sabrina when she brings out her physical mons, her Glastrier and her Iron Hands. This thing deletes Glastrier, and it goes before both of them. It always goes first in Sabrina. Sabrina does not have a Pokemon that outspeeds this, except for Camerupt, and this thing's obviously not going to be your lead in Sabrina. Escavalier is like cool. He's got the same problem as this one. Already forgotten his name. Yanmega. Because he's super fast. He's like got like 150 speed or 147 or something. And unfortunately, he does not have good physical attack. So, and he's way too frail. So, like, he's not swapping into anything. And as a lead, you're either going to use a move and then sack him, or you're going to U-turn out, in which case this is pointless because all of his investment is in his special attack, not his physical attack, so it's trash. Unusable. Galvantula is a cool typing. Bug Electric is kind of cool, but the stats just don't allow it to get used at all. I guess we'll put it at the top of unusable simply because like its stats there might be a case where it can get used ish, but I can't think of anything, and its speed isn't good enough, and its special attack isn't really good enough, and its bulk isn't good enough. So it's just like a low stat mon that, and the typing isn't like that good. Like the typing doesn't allow it to do anything like immensely important. So yeah, it's unusable. Durant is usable. I mean, just for the same reason as Fortress is. He's just better than Fortress. He does Fortress's job, but he does it better because he has way more physical attack. And even possibly more physical. Nah. Fortress has more physical defense, but he doesn't have that much less, and he has way more attack and way more speed. He's just paper thin on the special side, but then so is Fortress, so it's whatever. Volcarona. Volcarona is absolutely garbage. I mean, I guess ability dependent, maybe, but like you don't get set up in hardcore, so it's got like great stats. I mean, nah, you can use this. You honestly, you could straight up use this against Misty's, or not Misty, Erica's Kartana. Probably both Kartanas, and this would win. Simply because it 4 times resists grass type moves. If this thing only single like like just resisted, like just 2 times resisted grass type moves, I'm pretty sure Kartana would still kill it with a +2 grassy glide because it does like 75% more damage or whatever because of Erica's ability. But yeah, just purely because of its base stats, we'll put it in this tier because it could get used, right? Genesect I mean, it's great. We'll put it above Durant. It just doesn't have enough, like, as much physical bulk as Scissor, which does sort of let it down. It does get extreme speed, though, which is kind of nice. It's not super fast, but having extreme speed sort of solves that, as long as you can get, like, a good move off and then extreme speed. Yeah. I mean, that's basically the role of this thing. I mean, it's obviously worth catching if, like, you don't see Scissor, basically. It's not as good as Scissor, but no, we'll put it in front of Escavalier. It certainly has more uses than Escavalier. But yeah, I don't think it's as good as Scissor. And also, like, I'm not a huge fan of like mixed attackers Because to me, it just seems like wasted stats. Because it's like, oh, do I want to? I mean, it's cool having the decision, like, should I bring a physical move to this battle or should I bring a special move? And at least you can make that choice on Genesect. But it's also like 120 of his stat total that's just in something that probably won't be getting used, whether it's the physical side or the special side. Vivian. Um, Vivian is surprisingly has way more forms than I thought it did. This is crazy. I think my favorite Vivian is probably the pure white one, I think, which is sad, but it does look dang good to me. Yeah, pure white one looks sick. Um, it's unusable. I mean, what is this thing getting used for? It's a bug flying type that is trash. Vikavolt, bug electric type. However, unlike Galvantula, Vikavolt is slightly more usable because it is bulkier. So you're just getting rid of all of its speed to get more bulk, and surprisingly, that has more utility in Radical Red. Because honestly, in the late game, most stuff you're not even outspeeding anyway. So you're playing with the intent in mind that you are underspeeding, and as long as you have the bulk to win a matchup, that's fine. And it does that job way better than Galvantula does. Araquanid is, I mean, we'll put it in ability dependent. It's like a physical bug water type. It's got great special defense. It doesn't have terrible. I mean, it's got like average physical defense. Its HP is garbage, but I mean, it gets like early lunge. It gets like an early. I think it gets an early physical water move of something. It learns like liquidation, like maybe before surge or after surge or something. Or after surge for sure. Or I don't know, but I mean, it's usable, right? With a good ability, this thing can 100% get used in multiple matchups. Glycopod is our first highly usable. This thing is ridiculous. Like a first impression and sucker punch is insane, and it gets like Aqua Jet too, in case you're like you don't want to sucker punch because you think they might switch or something depending on the situation. This thing is fantastic. Unfortunately, it doesn't get U-turn. If this thing could slow U-turn, it would be even more broken. But it doesn't get U-turn. It doesn't get flip turn. So unfortunately, it doesn't serve that purpose. But I mean, it doesn't matter what this thing's ability is. You're swapping it in. It's tanking an attack. It's bulky as sin, and it's clicking first impression, and then it's clicking sucker punch. Like, and whatever you're using it for, those two moves are going to kill, or Aqua Jet, depending on what the typing of the mon is that it's fighting. But it's insane. Bug type Silvally. I mean, I don't know where I put the other Silvallies, but like, I mean, this is a monster that gets 18 different types, 18 different abilities in the late game. So we'll put it right next to Arceus, even though this doesn't exist and this doesn't technically exist until the late game. But whatever. 120 base power bug move is literally basically useless in after the seventh gym. Like there's just nothing, like there's really nothing that you're trying to click bug types moves on in like past Cinnabar Island, pretty much. Um, but you also get 17 other choices with this Pokemon, so you know it's obviously going to be good. Buzzwole, yeah, we've got our second highly usable Pokemon. This thing just trivial, like its physical bulk is so insane that it doesn't matter what the ability is. You can swap it into so many different ground type Pokemon. It's not weak to rock, which is super helpful. It does great into rock types. It does great into ground types. As long as they're physical, this thing absolutely deletes. And it resists dark too, which is super helpful. Yeah, it's insane. Pheromosa, completely different than Buzzwole, different role. I almost am tempted to put this in ability dependent, but that makes it seem like it's still not usable unless it has a good ability. But this thing is borderline broken if it has a correct ability. And this is like a rare instance where I actually like special mixed attackers because this thing's job is not to it never takes a hit. Its job is do not ever take a hit. You are clicking triple kick with a wide lands. One time I actually got the ability that Viper has on this. It is called Fatal Precision, where if it clicks a super effective move, it never misses. So like basically triple kick was never missing, and you also get or you actually don't get the triple axle on this. It doesn't learn triple axle. Instead, you have to rely on ice beam. But triple kick not missing and getting boosted by 20%, it was borderline broken. Um, and I've never got any abilities that are better than that. Like 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 if this thing had a huge power, that'd be insane. Even like feline prowess, this thing would be insane. Because you could just click like Bug Buzz, Ice Beam, whatever. I don't think it gets Aura Sphere or Focus Blast, but it might. But yeah, that thing is fantastic as a lead. Or maybe as an answer to certain things, but you have to put a focus sash on it. And most of the stuff that it is a really good answer to, where you have to swap it in, is the sand route. There's a lot of stuff on the sand route where you can swap this in and then like like U-turn out or triple kick. But not having a focus sash or not having a wide lens means you don't want to click triple kick. And then also being in the sand route means this thing might die to sand, even if the focus sash saves it. So yeah, it's unfortunately not great for there, but it still has insane uses. Orbital and Mega Orbital have the same typing, so this thing is like not recognizable. So we'll just use Orbital because everybody knows Orbital. A lot of people see Mega Orbital and don't know what it is. This thing is usable. Like for the same reason as Vespiquen, it's probably just better than Vespiquen. It doesn't get healing moves, but it has like better stats. It's like slightly less bulky, but it does get like things like reflect light screen. And then when it megas, it is just way better than Vespiquen. Unfortunately, it does not get any healing moves. But like you can click whatever screen you want to for whatever fight, or if you're not the player to use screens in hardcore, which I mean, you could easily argue that screens are not worthwhile in hardcore, and you'd probably be correct. But this thing still gets fantastic moves like Psychic, Bug Buzz with strong special attack. It's usable. Shadow Ball. It gets like decent TMs. Sizzlipede, which evolves into I forgot the name of this. Something Skull. No, it's not Scolipede. I don't know. Something with fire, some Sizzler. We'll just Sizzlipede, whatever. It's for the same purpose as Volcarona. It's the typing doesn't really work that well. Um, but there's certain things that it can be used for, where, like for example, the Kartana, certain fairy types it can be used for pretty well, and that's about it. Yeah. Next one is Frostmoth. Garbage. Possibly the worst type in the game. Yeah, quite possibly the worst type in the game. This thing is dire. Like if you're looking for a frost moth, you are either like a pro at Radical Red hardcore, or I have no idea what this thing could get used for. Like it gets ice shard, but its physical attack is garbage. It's like clearly a special attacker that has no physical defense. I think it has like 100 special defense or whatever, and then like 60 physical defense. I mean, this thing's getting wrecked. Its weaknesses are like, of the 18 types, it probably has like 12 weaknesses. It's insane. Oh jeez. Okay, so this thing's insane. Spite Ops is like low key. So he doesn't get Silk Trap, unfortunate, or no, he does get Silk Trap. He doesn't get Sticky Webs in hardcore, but he does get Silk Trap, which does lower the speed into contact moves. And with the correct ability on this thing, I've gotten it. He learns fantastic moves. His attacking moves are insane. His attacking stat is not that bad. Like this thing with Fur Coat can solve a lot of tricky problems, a lot of tricky Pokemon. Um, I have gotten Fur Coat with this, and I forgot what I was using it for. It gets First Impression. It does get First Impression. I don't think it gets Sucker Punch, but it gets some really cool moves. And I also don't know what its typing is. I think in Radical Red it might be a Bug Steel type, but it might also just be a pure Bug type. I can't remember. But this thing is like pretty cool. It's like weirdly usable. I don't understand why. Ninjas, you're not that usable, buddy. Ninjask will go probably at the bottom. All right. What does that leave? So yeah, Spite Ops, pretty cool. Low Kicks is also kind of similar to Glycopod in the sense of like what job does he do? The only different, he gets First Impression and he gets Sucker Punch. The main difference is that he learns those moves way later than Glycopod does. Glycopod learns those moves at 36. He gets access to First Impression and Sucker Punch. This doesn't get access to First Impression or Sucker Punch till like, I want to say like 48, possibly even in the 50s. And it's like, I mean, dark types are always like, I'm not sure. I mean, it's a lot. Like, there's gonna be something. There's some matchups in the late game where Low Kicks can perform with his little First Impression Sucker Punch combo. And the main difference between him and Glycopod is that he gets Stab Sucker Punch, which can be nice. Stab Aqua Jet, though, is also super nice. But yeah, I'm not totally sure. I think it's not worth it because it's basically just like a standard Pokemon that doesn't have priority in the entire early game, which is when this thing should be useful. It loses its utility. It's not bulky enough to get used in like later on in the game, unlike Glycopod, who is bulky enough. And the last two bug type Pokemon. That is crazy. I don't even know what this thing is called. I've never caught one. Relor, I think. Don't even know what its typing is. I'm gonna assume it's a bug psychic type, but I mean, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't even know what its base stats are. I'm gonna assume it's slow as sin, and it's garbage. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it at the top of unusable. I actually don't know what this thing's base stats are, but I can't imagine that thing being very good, even with a good ability. And then Slitherwing is unfortunately not that useful, surprisingly. This thing is like yeah, sure, it's a bug fighting type. Awesome, great. But unlike Buzzwole, and Mega Heracross. This thing is not necessarily geared towards being a physically bulky bug fighting type, which is most of the it's almost all of the battles where you want a bug fighting type. This thing is especially bulky, which basically means it's not usable, and it also doesn't learn good moves until way later. Like, I don't even know. I don't even think this thing gets first impression, even in Radical Red. And its speed is also garbage. Unlike Buzzle, where speed doesn't matter because he's just bulk city. Slitherwing is speed does matter, and it is not bulk city. So, I mean, this is crazy how I'm sticking a 580. Nah, I can't stick a 580 base stat total Pokemon in unusable. If you're better at Radical Red than I am, then you'll find a way to use this. I just don't see it. So yeah. That's the list. We'll just go through the top two briefly. Glycopod being at the top, probably not. It's probably at the bottom of highly usable. Uh, unless we're ranking it. Nah, we'll put it at the top of highly. Because like the amount of battles throughout the entire game, like assuming you do a Nuzlocke and you win, Glycopod will probably be will be getting brought to more battles than Buzzwole and Pheromosa. I would think, depending on like abilities, obviously, but Buzzwole is probably better than Pheromosa. Pheromosa's role is like super specific, but it does that role really well and can be used in multiple different battles. It's just not necessarily the type of Pokemon that can get brought as an answer to certain matchup, to like almost any matchup. This thing is like you're almost always leading this to delete a Pokemon or to U-turn out and do like serious damage. And then we have the usable tier. Cleavor probably does deserve to be at the top of usable. Simply because it has one of the only ways to set up stealth rocks in the entire game. Same with Mega Beedrill. It's just super fast, like disturbingly fast and disturbingly powerful, even though its role is like super narrow. Its role is basically one thing. Unless you find a way to switch it into a fighting type move or a grass type move. Um, Scissor, fantastic. Same with Mega Scissor. They serve this. They're the same purpose. Mega Scissor just has more stats, but Scissor with an item is just as good almost. Yeah, highly usable. Same with Genesect. He's just not as physically bulky as Scissor, but for the same purpose, he is highly usable. Scavalier, yeah, just all the bug steel types, very good. And then we have Mega Heracross for the same reason that Buzzwole is. It's just Mega Heracross doesn't get an item, and his stats are pretty similar to to Buzzwole. He just has more speed, I think, or maybe he has less speed. I no, he has his speed is garbage. Um, and then we got Arceus and Silvally, which basically don't exist, but whatever, we'll rank them anyways. They're obviously going to get used if the game glitched out and somehow you ended up with a pure bug type Arceus. Sure. Yeah, I'll use that. Orbeetle, yeah, bulky bug psychic types. Orbeetle and Vespiquen, great. Vespiquen has better healing and like I would say better longevity. But Orbeetle does have the ability to Mega. This is all assuming that you're just insta popping the Mega Stone. Like, just give me all the Mega Stones, because that's a reasonable way to play, I think. Because you can't even use them until after Sabrina, anyways, or before Sabrina, or whatever. So you know. That's fine. And then the remainder of our bug steel types, yeah. And then Parasect is in here just because it's like weird. Why is Parasect here? There's like actually surprisingly a lot of matchups where Parasect is usable simply because it's like the most physically bulky bug grass type. Um, in the game, I think. Yeah, I mean we're looking at all the bug types, right? So yeah, this is the most physical bug grass type, and it is basically immune to earth type attacks. And like like for example, this thing answers Torterra. Like if you don't have an answer to Torterra, like if you don't have like a flying steel type, yeah, this with a Charty Berry is perfectly can answer +2 head smash from Torterra, and then delete it with the X scissor or whatever. So yeah, that's that. And then unfortunately, Crustle and I mean, nah, we'll put Crustle and Armaldo up because regardless of their abilities, they're bulky enough. You can use them um, for multiple instances, and then these are all just completely ability dependent to get used ish. Yeah, whether they are bulky and can win a tug of war fight ability, or they just have an ability that just makes them do a lot of damage. They all of these kind of require that to be useful. Yeah, even Shuckle. Oh, nah, I guess Shuckle's usable simply because his role is to take hits and then let you swap into a better answer or something. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's our bug type tier list. So let me know if you think this is absolute garbage and why is Shedinja the most broken Pokemon at the bottom of this bug type tier list? Yeah, that's a great point. I must have no idea what I'm talking about in Hardcore Radical Red. Go well. Don't forget to leave a comment. If you leave a comment and ask for the type that you want next, not that it matters because I'm going to do all 18 anyways, go ahead and leave that comment. Thanks, guys. Peace out.